The vote. The Grand Hall of Concord shimmered with alien light. Thousands of delegates, from crystalline Seraphians to scaled Threxans, filled the chamber, a cathedral of stars where worlds decided the fate of species. At the center stood one woman, Ambassador Illyra Miles of Earth, her uniform dark and plain amid the glittering robes of the galactic elite. The Supreme Chancellor's voice echoed. By majority vote, the species known as humanity is hereby banished from all interstellar contact. Effective immediately. The chamber erupted. Some cheered, others hissed. Illyra did not flinch. Her hands rested calmly behind her back as she looked across the assembly that had once called humans allies. "We gave you our science," she said softly, her words carried by translator orbs. "Our art, our medicine, our hearts. And now you call us dangerous." A voice from the shadows answered coldly. "You are unpredictable, violent. You do not belong among us." Illyra's lips curved into a faint smile, not defiant, but weary, knowing. "Then we'll go," she said. "You've mistaken kindness for weakness before. Don't make that mistake again." The chamber fell silent. As she walked away from the podium, every human envoy followed without a word. Their ships left the station within hours, cutting ties, closing wormholes, locking Earth behind a wall of silence. From orbit, the planet glowed blue and calm, but its pulse was already changing. In the quiet aftermath, the old Threxan senator murmured to no one, "I have seen that smile before. When humans lose something, they build something greater." The vote had exiled Earth from the stars, but in truth, it had just freed it. The silence. When the last Terran vessel slipped into Sol's shadow, the galaxy exhaled in relief. Trade networks adjusted, ambassadors resigned, and the name human faded from the daily chatter of the galactic net. For a brief moment, the stars felt quieter, safer, they told themselves. But silence can be louder than war. Within weeks, systems once maintained by human engineers began to falter. Terran software that powered jump gates and reactors grew unstable without its creators' updates. Medical synths failed. Even art exchanges lost their color. Alien galleries have been filled with human compositions, their chaotic beauty now sorely missed. The galaxy whispered, "What are they doing back there?" Scouts were sent to watch Earth. None returned. The wormhole nearest to Sol now shimmered with a strange, shifting energy that fried sensors. Even the bravest explorers avoided it, claiming they heard a pulse, a heartbeat, in the static. On Varelia Prime, the Threxan senator studied the reports. He remembered Illyra's calm words, her quiet smile. "You've mistaken kindness for weakness," the phrase haunted him. Meanwhile, strange signals flickered at the edge of known space. Brief, encrypted bursts of light forming impossible equations. Scientists called them anomalies. The old Threxan called them intentions. As months turned to years, humanity became a legend. Children of other races grew up hearing ghost stories about the silent ones from Sol, who built miracles in exile, who smiled as they disappeared. Yet every commander and counselor who looked toward the darkened sector of the Milky Way felt the same unease. The humans hadn't gone extinct. They were waiting. The last transmission. A century after the exile, the galactic net trembled. Out of the black silence of Sol came a single transmission, a pulse of light encoded in the oldest human tongue. It repeated only once, yet every receiver across the Union recorded the same words. "You cast us out, so we build our own destiny. Do not seek us." Then nothing. The message spread like wildfire. Some dismissed it as a prank, others as a warning. But deep space sensors soon began to register impossible readings near the edge of the Perseus arm. Gravity distortions, megastructures forming where no civilization should exist. An investigative fleet was dispatched, led by the cautious Threxan Admiral Vorkethan. When they reached the coordinates, their ships fell silent, stunned by what hung before them. An enormous shell of living metal encircling a pulsar, glowing with golden light. A Dyson sphere built by human hands. The structure hummed with perfect rhythm, absorbing and redirecting the pulsar's radiation into invisible conduits. Its surface bore a single emblem etched in starlight, a stylized blue earth surrounded by a ring of flame. Beneath it were words in a dead Terran dialect, Terran ascendancy. Vorkethin felt a tremor of awe and dread. They built a star, he whispered. The fleet sent a signal requesting dialogue. The Dyson sphere responded not with words, but with silence. And then, for a heartbeat, all nearby systems flickered as if time itself had paused. Then the pulsar brightened, casting its beam across the stars, forming, unmistakably, the faint outline of Smile. The admirals turned their ships home in silence. The humans were not gone. They had evolved. The century without humans. 100 years passed, and the galaxy learned what life, without humanity, truly meant. Without Terran engineers, trade fleets faltered. Without their restless inventors, innovation slowed to a crawl. Entire industries that had once thrived under human partnership turned stagnant. Machines that only humans had the curiosity to improve now decayed in silent orbit. Even culture began to fade. Art exhibitions once filled with human music and imagery fell hollow. The chaos, emotion, and unpolished beauty humanity had brought to the stars were gone. Alien artists mimicked their style, but none could capture the spark, that strange defiance that turned sorrow into song. Historians rewrote textbooks, calling the Exile a necessary act of galactic stability. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. The galaxy had grown colder. In the quiet archives of Aurelia Prime, the last surviving Threxan senator, frail and blind, listened to recordings of human laughter. He had once voted for their banishment, believing peace required their absence. Now, as machines rusted and stars dimmed in economic decline, he whispered, "We needed their madness." He died that night, watching through failing eyes as a faint light crossed the skies, a human probe, ancient and indestructible, still drifting through alien space. Across countless worlds, humanity had become legend. Children whispered stories about the wanderers of soul, who built worlds of light beyond the map's edge. And when telescopes caught fleeting glimmers, symmetrical constellations, moving in deliberate formation, scientists dismissed them as illusions. But some who still remembered Alara Miles and her quiet smile knew better. The humans hadn't vanished. They were simply building something they didn't need to share. The return signal. It began as a whisper across the void, a harmonic pulse, perfectly mathematical, radiating from the edge of the galaxy. The signal wasn't random. It was art. Each frequency folded into the next, forming patterns of beauty and precision that transcended language. Every scientific array in the Galactic Union turned toward its source, hearts tightening with both awe and fear. When decoded, the message was simple. We invite you to witness the dawn. A coalition of observers was assembled, envoys, scientists, admirals. Their ships crossed the galactic rim, entering a region of space thought uninhabitable. What they found defied reason. Before them stretched an artificial star system, engineered with godlike precision. Planets of mirrored oceans orbited a radiant core. Vast city rings floated like halos, alive with light and motion. There were no signs of war, no fortresses, only harmony. Then they saw the ships, elegant silver arcs that moved like thoughts, not machines. From one of them came a transmission. A human face appeared, calm, ageless, luminous. "I am Aeon Miles, descendant of Earth," he said. "You once feared what we might become. You were right, but not in the way you thought." The delegation watched in silence as Aeon guided them through the Terran systems. Worlds thrived without hunger or tyranny. Machines and minds lived in symbiosis. Energy flowed from captured stars. Humanity had not merely survived exile. They had used it to transcend. When the observers departed, their ships trembled with quiet dread. One whispered to another, "They don't need us anymore." And as the fleet jumped to hyperspace, The artificial sun flared behind them, burning with the steady brilliance of a civilization reborn. The accusers return. The same races that had once voted to cast humanity out now sent envoys bearing gifts and apologies. Their ships, ornate and trembling, arrived at the border of Terran space, broadcasting messages of peace. They called it reconciliation, but humanity called it curiosity. The delegation was received by Commander Aeon Miles, radiant beneath the soft glow of the Ascendancy's star. His voice carried neither anger nor pride, only calm precision. "You feared us once," he said. "You were right, too. Fear made us look inward. It forced us to grow." He led them through the celestial archives, a world of glass and gravity fields where data flowed like rivers of light. There were no prisons, no armies, no politics, only purpose. Every citizen, every creation worked toward equilibrium. The alien leaders were humbled. "How did you build all this?" one asked in disbelief. Aeon smiled faintly. "By remembering everything you try to make us forget." They were shown the garden planets, where machines sang photosynthetic symphonies, the memory vaults, where ancient Earth art was preserved in holographic skies. Humanity had mastered not domination, but perfection through balance. Yet beneath the harmony lingered something deeper. Every achievement carried the echo of a wound once inflicted. The aliens sensed it but dared not speak. At the final gathering, Aeon looked at them one last time. "We have no wish for vengeance," he said softly, "but we have no need for permission either." As the delegation departed, the stars around them pulsed in synchrony, forming patterns too deliberate to be chance. It was a silent reminder. Humanity had not only survived exile, they had rewritten the definition of civilization itself. The galactic collapse. It began without warning, a tremor in space-time itself. Across the core systems, wormholes flickered, then tore apart. The great trade arteries of the Galactic Union collapsed in waves of light and gravity, cutting entire civilizations off from one another. Planets fell into darkness as power grids failed. The black hole at the galaxy's center, once stable, long monitored, had begun to devour reality faster than predicted. Entire sectors screamed for aid. Panic consumed the council chambers that had once condemned humanity. And then someone whispered the unthinkable, "Call the Terrans." At first, the plea was met with shame. Then desperation silenced pride. Distress signals were sent toward Terran space, though no one expected a response. For 3 long days, there was only static. On the 4th day, the stars changed. Terran vessels emerged. Not ships, but luminous structures that seemed alive, gliding through warped gravity as if it were water. They surrounded the dying sectors, weaving invisible barriers of light. Where their energy passed, space-time healed. Commander Aeon Miles appeared on every major channel. Calm, centered, eyes like molten gold. "You exiled us," he said, "but we are not cruel. Stand back and watch." The galaxy watched as humans stabilized collapsing stars, rebuilt gateways, and restored order in days where others had failed for centuries. They commanded forces of physics like artists, wielding science as compassion. When it was over, trillions were saved. The Galactic Union, once proud and dominant, bowed in silence before those they had cast out. And as the Terran fleets drifted back toward their own suns, Aeon's final words lingered through the recovering cosmos. "Exile taught us to master the dark. Now, we return it to light." The new Concord. In the wake of the collapse, the Galactic Union was no more. Its monuments drifted in silence, relics of an era built on pride and hierarchy. From the ruins, a new order began to take shape, not through decree, but through choice. Humanity did not demand leadership. They simply began building again. Terran engineers opened communication arrays across the spiral arms, linking isolated worlds through energy threads made of living light. Planets once bitter rivals now shared resources freely under Terran guidance. When the remaining counselors asked for the Union's revival, Commander Aeon Miles refused. No thrones, he said. No votes of superiority. The stars will not serve egos anymore. Instead, humanity proposed the Stellar Accord, an alliance bound not by race or species, but by will. Each world would contribute knowledge, not obedience. Each being would earn its place through merit, not lineage. For the first time in galactic history, equality wasn't a law, it was a reality. Many joined, some refused, clinging to their old empires and collapsing under their own arrogance. But those who embraced the accord flourished. New art, new sciences, and new philosophies bloomed. On Earth, the once banned world, oceans shimmered again with spacecraft and song. Children from 100 species walked its forests, learning the history of a people who turned exile into enlightenment. At the founding of the Stellar Accord, On addressed them all. "We do not lead the galaxy," he said. "We remind it how to rise." His words spread from system to system, becoming a creed etched into the new era's code. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy felt alive again, united not by fear, but by the quiet, unbreakable will of humanity. The smile. Centuries passed, and the story of Earth's exile became myth. The old Galactic Union existed only in archives, while the Stellar Accord thrived, an interwoven civilization of countless species, all tracing their renewal to humanity's defiance. In the Grand Museum of Light on New Sol, a young alien historian named Rylus stood before a holographic figure of Commander Aeon Miles. Aeon's projection shimmered with timeless serenity, eyes filled with the calm fire of purpose. Rylus hesitated, then asked, "Why did your people smile when the galaxy banished you?" Aeon's hologram turned its gaze toward the stars beyond the glass dome. "Because exile freed us," he replied softly. "When they closed their doors, they opened our sky. We stopped trying to belong and started becoming." The words hung in the silence, heavy and beautiful. Rylus looked upward, and through the dome, the night unfurled. A cosmic map reshaped by human design. Entire constellations burned in deliberate formation, lines of starlight connecting across parsecs until they formed one unmistakable symbol, a smile. It was humanity's final gift to the galaxy, a message written not in words, but in creation itself. Rylus understood then. Humanity's greatest strength had never been power, nor intellect, but the relentless refusal to surrender hope. As he recorded his final entry, he whispered, "They didn't just survive exile, they taught us what it means to begin again." Far beyond, in the luminous expanse of the rebuilt Milky Way, Terran ships moved silently between the stars, guardians, dreamers, and builders of the infinite. The galaxy had once voted to banish Earth, but in the end, it was humanity who set the galaxy free. And somewhere in the starlit dark, the universe itself seemed to smile back.